Some people use alcohol as an excuse to do what they really want. Others use it as an excuse to pretend they didn't want it at all. Isaac fell into the second category. The morning light cut through my blinds like an accusation as he sat on the edge of my bed, his back to me, shoulders tense with the weight of what we'd done. We were drunk, he said, his voice hollow. Last night was a mistake. We got too wasted and crossed a line we shouldn't have. If this story is already hitting different, smash that subscribe button because we're diving deep into stories about love, denial, and the courage it takes to face what's real. But here's the thing about last night. We weren't drunk. Not really. We'd shared a six-pack over 4 hours while watching movies on my couch. The same thing we'd done 100 Friday nights before. The only difference was that this time, the space between us had finally become unbearable. I'd loved Isaac for 2 years. 2 years of watching him date men who didn't deserve him, of being the friend he called crying at 3 a.m. when another relationship imploded, of wanting him so desperately I could barely breathe around it. And last night, something had shifted. We'd been arguing about his latest ex, some guy who'd ghosted him after 3 months. Why do you always pick people who can't see how incredible you are? I'd asked, frustration bleeding through. Maybe because the person who actually sees me is unavailable, he'd said quietly, his eyes meeting mine with an intensity that made my heart stop. Isaac, don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about. I see the way you look at me when you think I'm not paying attention. The way you find excuses to touch me. The way you've been in love with me for God knows how long while I was too damning scared to acknowledge it. The air had turned electric. If you knew, why didn't you say anything? Because saying it makes it real. Makes me have to choose between staying safe in this friendship or risking everything for something more. His hand had found mine, trembling. But I'm tired of safe. I'm tired of pretending I don't want this. Don't want you. What happened next wasn't drunken fumbling. It was 2 years of longing finally given permission to exist. Isaac had kissed me like he was dying of thirst, and I was water. When we made love, it was slow and reverent and devastating in its tenderness. He traced my face in the darkness and whispered, "I've imagined this so many times. But the reality is so much better." He'd held me after, our hearts beating in sync, and said, "I love you. I think I've loved you since the day we met." I was just too afraid to let myself feel it. Now, in the harsh morning light, fear had reclaimed him. "We weren't that drunk," I said softly to his back. "We were drunk enough. To use it as an excuse? Yes. To actually be drunk? No." I sat up, pulling the sheet around me. "Isaac, you told me you loved me. That wasn't the alcohol talking. That was truth you've been swallowing for 2 years, finally breaking free. What if it was just a moment? What if in the light of day, it doesn't feel the same? Does it feel different now?" He turned to face me finally, and his eyes were wet with unshed tears. "No, that's what terrifies me. It feels exactly the same. I still want you. I still love you. And that means I can't take it back. Can't pretend it didn't happen. Then don't. If we do this, if we're together and it falls apart, I lose everything. I lose my best friend. I lose the person who knows me better than anyone. I lose you." I reach for his hand, lacing our fingers together. "You won't lose me. But you're losing me right now by pretending last night was something we need to take back. By calling it drunk when we were sober enough to know exactly what we were choosing." "I'm so scared," he whispered. "Me too. But Isaac, I've been loving you in secret for 2 years. Watching you give yourself to people who didn't treasure you while I stood on the sidelines dying inside. Last night, you finally let yourself be loved by someone who's been waiting for the chance. Don't take that away from us because you're afraid." He was crying now, quiet tears tracking down his face. "What if I'm not good at this? What if I disappoint you? You couldn't. You're already everything I've ever wanted." He kissed me then, tasting like salt and surrender. "We weren't drunk," he said against my lips. "No, we were finally honest. I love you. Sober or drunk doesn't matter. I love you and I want this. Want us? Then stay." Stop running. Let yourself have this. He pulled me back down into the bed, holding me like I was the answer to every question he'd ever had. Okay, no more excuses. No more blaming it on being drunk. Just truth. He said we were drunk and made love to me anyway. But the real story was that we were stone cold sober when we chose each other. Sober when we decided 2 years of wanting was enough. Sober when we finally stopped pretending friendship was enough when we both wanted everything. Sometimes courage looks like admitting you weren't as drunk as you claimed. That you knew exactly what you were doing. That you'd do it again 1,000 times completely sober.